In the mid-20th century, America was a nation in transition. Women were expected to confront their traditional roles in society as mothers and housewives. Few women were economically independent. But in the midst of confrontation, a young girl from Ohio had a different view of herself and woman. That is, Gloria Steinem. Gloria Steinem's effort to advocate for women's rights in the 20th century reshaped societal views and was able to demonstrate the power of grassroots activism, and also the importance of addressing intersectional forms of oppression that women had to face at the time. She did so by emphasizing the balance between personal rights and shared responsibilities, questioning traditional gender roles and paving a road for future feminists. Let's go back in time to Steinem's early life. Gloria Steinem's early life was difficult. Her parents divorced when she was at a young age, and her mother had a hard time keeping the family afloat. But her mother's strong sense of independence had a big influence for Steinem to transform to the person she became.
My mother was a pioneer journalist before I was born. I didn't even know that until much later. She gave up everything, not because my father forced her to, but that was the way the world ran. She had what was then called a nervous breakdown, but she was really institutionalized for a couple of years, and then just to survive, became her goal. And she was, a wonderful, smart, loving person. But I began to realize that actually I was living out her unlived life.
As a young journalist, she had the determination to stand out in the male-dominant industry. She started out writing for small companies and publications, but soon enough was able to work as an editor for Help magazine. As a freelance journalist, she was also able to write for several major publications, such as New York Times, Vogue, and Harper's. Her articles often explored social, political, and cultural issues, which made her develop a unique perspective and style for the time. Those early experiences only paved the way for her success, but it wasn't until she went undercover as a Playboy bunny in 1963 she gained a deeper understanding of how cruel society was for women and was deeply determined to spark transformation.
There was nothing fun about it. It's really hard work. You're carrying trays, you have 3-inch high heels on, you're paid very little, the trays are heavy, your feet hurt. I learned of what it's like to be hung on a meat hook. That's the emotional experience of walking around in a costume that's so tight it would give a man a cleavage. The response to the article was amazing because the club was new then, and it was kind of blowing the whistle on the glamour of the club. I regretted for many years having done it because it made me unserious. But as feminism began to dawn on my brain belatedly in life, I became glad I did it.
Her expose of the ugly truth behind this popular Playboy club was published on Show magazine. She revealed the sexism, the exploitation, and the mistreatment of the club's female employees. The Playboy club's management subjected the bunnies to match physical requirements and to obey strict dress codes. They also had to pass assessments and have training on skills such as the bunny dip in order to serve food.
You can just bring it down. Again, remember that if you want to, you can do it like so. Right? I know you've got to get used to standing on these heels. It tends to make you wobble a little.
Gloria Steinem was not the only person that was against the club's mistreatment. Many feminists at the time, such as Kelly Turtle and Holly Madison, also rose up against the clubs. And most importantly, rose up against Hugh Hefner, the founder of Playboy magazines, which extended into the creation of Playboy clubs. Hugh Hefner's sickly practices included a time every week called Pig Night, where so-called special girls would get chosen to join him and his friends at a mansion.
One at a time, the girls were escorted into the front bathroom, where the doctor would inspect them for anything that would be detrimental to any of his friends. The girls that passed muster would have sex with the different friends of Hefner.
Gloria Steinem's effort in revealing the Playboy Club demonstrates the importance of protecting workers' rights and also the responsibility of employers to provide safe working environment for their workers. The Playboy experience drove her to co-found organizations such as the National Women's Political Caucus, Women's Action Alliance, the Women's Media Center, and the Miss Foundation for Women. The overall goal was to empower women and to provide a platform for them to express experiences and opinions, since no other platform could do so. Her most important finding would be the Ms. magazine. The magazine's first issue, published in 1972, was a groundbreaking success, selling more than 300,000 copies. Its main goal was to push forward the feminist movement and normalize the title of Ms.
The title, Ms., a newly emerging designation for those who didn't want to be bound by Mrs. for a married woman or Miss for a single woman, was an issue. As I understand it, even the New York Times wouldn't call you Ms. Gloria Steinem.
Oh, no, I'm so glad you know that. It was so annoying because for years and years I was Miss Steinem of Ms. Magazine.
Ms. would not offer household hints or fashion tips like traditional women's magazines.
We wanted to be able to write about trying to make an equal marriage or to write about abortion. We didn't want to just focus on women's outsides, but also our insides.
This was also the era where the fight for reproductive rights got to a peak. Even before the court cases of Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolden, Gloria Steinem had already been advocating for the rights for reproductive freedom.
Yes, the position of the caucus is one against government intervention in the reproductive freedom of the individual citizen. That affects men as well as women. It means birth control as well as abortion. It also means the enforced sterilization laws, which exist in many states in this country and which affect criminals and any individual considered socially undesirable. Very often affects poor and minority people, welfare clients, and the like. And it's clear from the opinions in other industrialized countries, and also from the opinions here, that is not the wish of the average citizen, male and female, is not to have government intervention in that most private area of personal freedom.
In her efforts in abortion, she emphasizes the responsibility for society as a whole to protect women's bodily autonomy, and that women's rights to healthcare and freedom is linked to basic human rights. Gloria Steinem has many major short-term impacts, but the most important one is that her efforts were able to change how women were portrayed in the media. She challenged the stereotypical portrayal and was able to promote a positive representation. Many stories in her magazines were about independent women, women's achievements, struggles, and experiences, showing diversity and their power. Along with the portrayal of women, Steinem also had a big influence in the ERA ratification campaign. She helped organize petitions in an effort to lobby and push for the ratification.
The real cutting edge of the opposition is usually economic. Equal pay for comparable work costs money. Mm-hmm. Men are not going to go downward in their pay, obviously. Women are going to go upward. And there are an awful lot of people benefiting from this very cheap labor force now.
Yeah.
Steinem's most notable long-term impact was that she encouraged women to take a bigger role in society. For example, the U.S. saw Shirley Chisholm and Kamala Harris run in politics in Congress and vice president, and also many women such as Mary Barra and Oprah Winfrey owned big corporations and businesses. Steinem's ideologies were also seen in the Women's March in 2017 against the government's policies that could possibly harm women's rights. Gloria Steinem's efforts highlighted the need for basic human rights of women and the responsibility of the government to give and protect these rights, but also the responsibility of people to unite and fight for themselves. Her success is a reminder that the fight for equality is not only to claim the rights, but also to claim the responsibilities that come with a particular right, such as when women gain their rights, they are responsible to support each other and not let male domination take over again. Her efforts ultimately gave hope and support to women in later generations and helped push forward more women movements and acts. Though we have made massive improvements over the past decades, women still face various challenges, such as access to safe and legal abortion, equal pay, domestic violence, and intersectional rights. Since Gloria Steinem has given women a voice and pushed the movement to a peak, it is now our responsibility to continue her legacy and push for a better society.